Connery wasn't afraid to make a few enemies out of his Hollywood colleagues, and the same can be said about the people in his personal life. During an infamous interview with Playboy in 1965, he made a comment that angered at least half the population. Quote, "I don't think there's anything particularly wrong about hitting a woman, although I don't recommend doing it in the same way that you'd hit a man. An open-handed slap is justified if all other alternatives fail." Over 20 years later, in a 1987 interview, Barbara Walters gave him a chance to correct his stance.
You think it's good to slap a woman?
No, I don't think it's good. I
think it's bad?
I don't think it's that bad. I think that it depends entirely on the circumstances and if it merits it. Yeah.
What would merit it?
Well, if you have tried everything else, then I think it's absolutely right.
To give her a good slap?
Yeah, absolutely.
While he insisted in the same interview that he never hit his wives, they had a different experience. His first wife was Diane Cilento, who was married to Italian writer Andrew Volpi when they met and was pregnant with his child. Connery left his girlfriend for Cilento, and the two married in 1962, but it was doomed from the start. Cilento was a burgeoning actress at the time and more famous than Connery, considering that none of the Bond films were released yet. Still, Connery insisted that she give up her career to take care of the children. It wasn't long until Connery made his own riches through the James Bond films, but he allegedly refused to pay anything towards their housekeeping.
Welcome to hell, Blofeld.
Not long after, he was rumored to have had an affair with actress Sue Lloyd, and rumors swirled after he developed public relationships with Shelley Winters and his Thunderball co-star Claudine Auger. Sylvia Miles also confessed to sharing a bed with Connery in the very home that his wife and children lived in. While filming for 1965's The Hill, Cilento and Connery attended a wedding where Diane allegedly danced with numerous male partners and partied until the early hours. Connery, who was exhausted from a long day of filming, returned to the room and waited for her. Cilento claims when she returned to her room, it was dark and she was hit in the face and fell to the ground. Then she was hit a second time as she found shelter in her bathroom and locked the door, where she stayed for the remainder of the night. Connery denies the allegations that he attacked her. A few years later, in 1970, Connery attended a golf tournament where he met his future wife, Micheline Roquebrune. At the time, she was married and had 3 children already. While she spoke no English and was a native French speaker, Sean Connery spent his week wooing her. Weeks later, he called her to tell her he was in love with her. Connery would divorce Cilento in 1974 and subsequently marry Micheline Roquebrune in 1975. To keep an eye on him, she followed him around the world to various film sets to ensure he wasn't tempted by his female co-stars. Of course, that wouldn't be enough to stop him. Connery met singer Lindsay DePaul at a party in 1989 and asked her for her phone number despite Micheline sitting right next to him. They started an affair in 1993 that lasted several months until he abruptly stopped contacting her. In 1996, Connery was caught kissing his makeup artist Nina Kraft, who was working on The Rock with him. A year later, Hel Byrne confessed that she shared an 11-month affair with Connery. For the 1999 film Entrapment, Connery starred alongside Catherine Zeta-Jones. He insisted that the script was rewritten so that there would be romantic scenes between Connery and the leading lady.
Has there ever been anyone you couldn't seduce?
No.
He was 68 at the time, while Catherine Zeta-Jones was 28 years old. While Connery seemingly cheated on his wives at every opportunity, Micheline says she knew what she was getting into. She would later say, quote, "When I met Sean, I knew I was taking on the whole package. Everyone wants him, and I have to accept and understand that." Christmas Time was known for her roles in movies like Wild Things and Starship Troopers. Christmas is a smart and independent character, but there's no denying she's mostly there for eye candy. Did we really need a scene where she strips down to her tank top and shorts for no reason? Plus, she ends up being the primary Bond girl in the movie, yet isn't introduced until halfway through. Aside from that, one of the biggest criticisms of the character is that Denise Richards just doesn't seem believable as a nuclear physicist. She's better known for her appearances in Playboy than science skills. Plus, her acting leaves a lot to be desired. Her delivery of lines like, "I can defuse this," falls flat. But despite these flaws, her banter with Bond can be fun at times. Plus, she does play a role in the plot and isn't just a damsel in distress. Mary Goodnight, The Man with the Golden Gun. Next up is Mary Goodnight in The Man with the Golden Gun, played by Swedish actress Britt Ekland. She's a Bond girl with a fun and flirty personality, and she's quite smart and resourceful. Unfortunately, the filmmakers didn't really give her much to do, except for being a love interest and a bit of eye candy. Goodnight works for MI6 as a secretary, but she's also trained in field work. However, her skills are mostly ignored in the film, and she's mostly there to provide some comedic relief and to flirt with Bond. That's a shame because Ekland is a talented actress who could have brought a lot more to the character if given the chance. Still, Goodnight is a memorable Bond girl, even if her character is a bit one-dimensional. Ekland also has some great outfits and hairstyles, which makes her a style icon of the 70s. Tiffany Case, Diamonds Are Forever. Tiffany Case, played by Jill St. John, is the leading lady in 1971's Diamonds Are Forever. Tiffany is a fun-loving diamond smuggler who always seems to have a trick up her sleeve. She's smart, sassy, and not afraid to speak her mind. Throughout the movie, Tiffany and Bond team up to try to uncover the mystery of the stolen diamonds, and Tiffany's wit and humor help lighten up the otherwise serious tone of the movie, though at the same time the character was much more serious and darker than the Ian Fleming novels. So many people felt the change to the character was an odd and somewhat distracting choice. One of the most memorable scenes with Tiffany is when she and Bond are in the casino and she's trying to smuggle diamonds out of the country by swallowing them. The scene is played for laughs, but Jill St. John is able to keep the tension high while still making the audience chuckle. Stacey Sutton, A View to a Kill. Stacey Sutton is in the 1985 film A View to a Kill, and she's played by Tanya Roberts. She's definitely a gorgeous Bond girl, if not a little unconvincing as a geologist. Tanya Roberts was asked to play her with a fairly girlish and young vibe, which make it harder to believe that she was a brilliant scientist. Of course, Bond is still Bond, so he does end up hooking up with her, despite the fact that he's played by Roger Moore, who was pretty dang old at this point. In fact, he was pushing 60, while Tanya was in her mid-20s, which makes the whole relationship seem a little creepy in hindsight. But hey, that's Bond for you. Along the way, Stacey and Bond get into all sorts of trouble, including an epic car chase and a showdown on top of the Golden Gate Bridge. Stacey holds her own throughout and even manages to save Bond's life at one point. Solitaire, Live and Let Die. Solitaire is a character in the James Bond film Live and Let Die, and she's played by the stunning Jane Seymour. Solitaire is a psychic who can see the future, and she works for Dr. Kananga, the main villain. Bond sets his sights on her, hoping to use her abilities to his advantage. Seymour brings a quiet intensity to the character, but as a character, she's slightly underutilized, especially since Bond woos her, but then is disinterested suddenly when he realizes her psychic powers literally disappeared after losing her virginity to him. Harsh. Plus, in seducing her, Bond ends up making her a target for Dr. Kananga. It's a role that was meant to be intriguing, but ended up being more of a plaything for Bond. Still, it's never a bad day when you get to watch Jane Seymour on screen. Holly Goodhead, Moonraker. Holly Goodhead, the NASA astronaut, who's also one of Bond's love interests in the 1979 movie Moonraker, is portrayed by the lovely Lois Chiles. Holly is not only an astronaut, but also a trained CIA agent. She's smart, witty, and can hold her own against Bond's charm and charisma. She's not just a pretty face, she's got brains too. She and Bond work together to stop the villainous Drax from using a deadly virus to wipe out all of humanity. Holly is an integral part of the mission and uses her scientific expertise to help Bond save the day. Lois Chiles does a fine job of portraying Holly as a smart, independent woman, though some critics felt her performance was slightly stiff, which is why she's lower on the list. Madeleine Swann, Spectre, and No Time to Die. Next up is Madeleine Swann, played by the stunning Léa Seydoux in both Spectre and No Time to Die. Madeleine is a total boss. She's smart, brave, and a doctor to boot. But she does. It's clear she's a complex and layered character. And of course, we can't forget about her chemistry with Bond. Seydoux and Daniel Craig have a natural ease with each other. Madeleine challenges Bond in ways other Bond girls don't, and their relationship feels more real and grounded than some of his other flings. Jinx Jordan, Die Another Day. Jinx is an NSA agent working in Cuba who helps Bond on his mission in Die Another Day in 2002. Played by the stunning Halle Berry, she's a badass who can handle herself in combat and has no problem taking down bad guys. But she's not just a fighter, she's also a seductive and confident woman who knows what she wants. Halle Berry's portrayal of Jinx is both fierce and sexy, and she brings a refreshing energy to the Bond franchise. She looks stunning in her iconic orange bikini, and her chemistry chemistry with Pierce Brosnan's Bond is off the charts. One of the most memorable scenes in the movie is when Jinx emerges from the water in slow motion, referencing Ursula Andress' iconic scene in Dr. No. Strapped to her hip, emerging from the ocean like a goddess. But there's more to her than just a pretty face and killer body. Honey is resourceful, tough, and fiercely independent. She's not afraid to stand up to Bond and even saves his life at one point, using her knowledge of the island to outsmart their captors. And let's not forget her knack for sea creatures. She catches and sells them to make a living, which comes in handy when they need to escape. Andress's portrayal of Honey Rider is equally legendary. Her Swiss accent adds an extra layer of charm to the character, and she exudes confidence and sex appeal throughout the film. Kissy Suzuki, You Only Live Twice. Now we have Kissy Suzuki, the beautiful Bond girl from the 1967 film You Only Live Twice. Played by Mie Hama, Kissy is a ninja trainee who helps Bond infiltrate a hidden lair on a remote island. But she's not just a sidekick, she's a skilled fighter and a fierce protector of her homeland. Mie Hama brings a quiet strength to Kissy that's very impressive. She's not one to boast about her abilities, but when push comes to shove, she's not afraid to take down bad guys and save the day. And she and Sean Connery's Bond had a fantastic chemistry. But Kissy isn't just there to be eye candy. She's a fully realized character with her own motivations and desires. She's determined to protect her people and her way of life, and she's not going to let anything get in her way. Cara Milvoy, The Living Daylights. Next up is Cara Milvoy, the bubbly and beautiful Bond girl from 1987's The Living Daylights, played by Miriam Diabo. Cara is a talented cellist with a heart of gold who gets caught up in a dangerous web of espionage. But despite the danger, she keeps her cool and manages to hold her own even when Bond isn't around to save her. Miriam Diabo brings a sweetness and vulnerability to Cara that's just so endearing. She's got a smile that can light up a room, and her chemistry with Timothy Dalton's Bond is perfect. Cara is a charming and likable character who's easy to root for. Miriam Diabo does a fantastic job bringing her to life, and her performance is definitely one of the highlights of The Living Daylights. Camille Montez, Quantum of Solace. Let's talk about Camille Montez, the fierce and fiery Bond girl from the 2008 film Quantum of Solace, portrayed by the talented Olga Kurylenko. Camille is a strong and independent woman who's on a mission of her own, and she doesn't need Bond to save her. In fact, she's the one doing most of the saving in this movie. She's not just a pretty face. Camille has a backstory that's just as interesting as Bond's. She's seeking revenge on the man who killed her family, and she's not going to let anyone stand in her way. Olga is perfect as Camille. She's tough, she's determined, and she's got a killer attitude. Plus, she's drop-dead gorgeous, which doesn't hurt either. Octopussy in Octopussy. Octopussy, the mysterious and alluring Bond girl from the 1983 film of the same name, played by the stunning Maud Adams. Octopussy is one of the most intriguing Bond girls out there, and not just because of her name. She's a wealthy businesswoman who runs her own circus troupe, which is just as cool as it sounds. But don't let her love of acrobatics fool you. Octopussy is one tough cookie. She's not afraid to get her hands dirty, and she's not afraid to stand up to Bond when he's being a bit too much of a playboy. Maud Adams absolutely nails the role of Octopussy. She's sultry and seductive, but she's also smart and savvy. Plus, that iconic yellow sari she wears is stunning. She's got her own agenda and isn't afraid to take risks to achieve her goals. Pam Bouvier, License to Kill. Now let's talk about Pam Bouvier, the kick-butt CIA agent and Bond girl from the 1989 film License to Kill, played by the gorgeous Carey Lowell. Pam is a total boss who can handle herself in pretty much any situation. Whether she's piloting a plane or taking down bad guys, she's always cool under pressure and ready to rock. One of the coolest things about Pam, she's not just a love interest for Bond, she's his partner in crime. She's just as involved in the plot as he is, and she's not afraid to get her hands dirty. Plus, her chemistry with Timothy Dalton's Bond is fantastic. They're equals in every way, and their banter and flirtation is both hilarious and sexy. Carey Lowell's portrayal of Pam is spot on. She's tough, smart, and sexy at the same time. Plus, that short haircut is so iconic and edgy. In a franchise sometimes known for one-dimensional Bond girls, Pam is a breath of fresh air. Pussy Galore, Goldfinger. Pussy Galore is one of the most famous Bond girls of all time, and it starts with that rather risque name. But Pussy is much more than just a funny name. She's a fierce, independent woman who doesn't take any guff. She was from the 1964 film Goldfinger and played by the lovely Honor Blackman. As a pilot and leader of her own all-female flying circus, Pussy is a force to be reckoned with. And let's talk about that infamous barn scene. You know the one. It's a little uncomfortable to watch now, but at the same time, it was a groundbreaking moment in film history. Pussy's womanhood is not something to be exploited or controlled. She owns it and uses it to her advantage, making her a truly empowered female character. Honor Blackman's portrayal of Pussy is perfection. She's confident, sexy, and that voice is like honey pouring over velvet. She is a true icon of the Bond franchise. Melina Havelock, For Your Eyes Only. Next up is Melina Havelock, the Bond girl from the 1981 film For Your Eyes Only, played by the lovely Carol Bouquet. Melina is not your average Bond girl. She's a crossbow-wielding woman out for revenge against the people who killed her parents. She's strong-willed and fiercely independent, but she also has a soft side and a vulnerability that makes her all the more endearing. And let's not forget about her killer style. The red jumpsuit she wears while taking down bad guys is iconic and totally fierce. Carol Bouquet's portrayal of Melina is spot on. She brings a raw intensity to the character, making us feel her pain and anger as she seeks revenge. Bouquet and Roger Moore have playful banter, and their steamy moments are some of the highlights of the film. But what really sets Melina apart is her incredible action scenes. From taking down bad guys with her crossbow to chasing villains on skis, she's a force to be reckoned with and shows she can hold her own in the world of Bond. Domino, Thunderball. Next, let's talk about Domino, the sizzling Bond girl from the 1965 movie Thunderball, played by the stunning Claudine Auger. Domino is a total bombshell, with a sultry French accent to boot. She's the mistress of main villain Emilio Largo, but don't let that fool you. She's got a heart of gold and a strong will to do what's right, plus a killer fashion sense. Those high-waisted bikini bottoms and matching crop top are iconic, and we can thank Claudine for bringing them to life on screen. And she's got great chemistry with Bond. Their flirtatious banter and steamy kisses are enough to make anyone swoon. Plus, Claudine's performance is just as captivating. Her acting chops are on full display in the emotional final showdown between Bond and Largo, where she proves to be a key player in saving the day. Wai Lin, Tomorrow Never Dies. Next, let's talk about Wai Lin, the character played by Michelle Yeoh in the 1997 movie Tomorrow Never Dies. Wai Lin is a secret agent from China who teams up with Bond to take down the villainous when it comes to being clever. And of course, we can't forget about Michelle Yeoh's amazing portrayal of Wai Lin. Yeoh herself is a total pro. She's a trained martial artist and even performed many of her own stunts in the movie. She brings such a cool and confident vibe to the character, and her chemistry with Pierce Brosnan's Bond is off the charts. Michelle was truly everything, everywhere, all at once with this role. Natalia Simonova, GoldenEye. Natalia Simonova stars in 1995's GoldenEye and is ostensibly the first nerdy Bond girl, and we love her for it. She's a Russian computer programmer who gets caught up in a scheme to use a stolen satellite weapon to trigger a global financial collapse. Natalia was played by the Polish-Swedish actress Izabela Skorupko, who delivered an exceptional performance. Natalia is smart, self-reliant, and resourceful, and she challenges Bond in a number of ways. Izabela played Natalia with determination and tenacity, but a subtlety that made her easy to watch. As such, she meshes well with Pierce Brosnan's Bond character. Her ultimate confrontation with the villain is one of the most memorable moments in the Bond franchise, and Skorupko's performance is powerful and intense. Anya Amasova, The Spy Who Loved Me. Anya Amasova, also known by her code name Agent XXX, is a central character in the 1977 film The Spy Who Loved Me. She's a Soviet KGB agent sent to investigate the theft of a nuclear submarine. Barbara Bach delivered a captivating and memorable performance in the role. Anya is a multi-dimensional character, displaying intelligence, independence, and skill. Plus, she challenges Bond intellectually and physically. Throughout the film, Anya's loyalties are divided between her mission and her growing feelings for Bond. Barbara Bach infused Anya with a sense of determination and professionalism. Her performance is understated but highly effective, and she plays off Roger Moore's Bond with a natural ease. The chemistry between Bach and Moore is palpable and adds a genuine sense of emotion and depth to their scenes together. Vesper Lynd, Casino Royale. Vesper Lynd sits at number 2 on our list as an enigmatic and gorgeous woman in 2006's Casino Royale. Vesper is sent to assist Bond in a high-stakes poker game against a terrorist financier. She was portrayed by French actress Eva Green, who delivered a captivating and unforgettable performance. Vesper is a multi-dimensional character who's different from the typical Bond girl archetype. She's intelligent, independent, and she challenges Bond. Eva Green's portrayal of Vesper Vesper is stunning and nuanced, and she brings a depth and complexity to the character that elevates her above the typical Bond girl role. The chemistry between Green and Daniel Craig, who played Bond in the film, is palpable and adds a genuine sense of emotion and depth to their scenes together. Vesper's tragic death at the end of the film is one of the most memorable moments in the Bond franchise, and Green's portrayal of her final moments is heart-wrenching and powerful. Tracy DiVincenzo on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Tracy DiVincenzo is at the top spot on our list, perhaps because she's more than just a love interest for Bond. She's a strong and capable woman who proves herself to be a valuable ally in his fight against evil. Tracy, played masterfully by Diana Rigg, is a central character in the 1969 film On Her Majesty's Secret Service. She's a strong-willed and independent woman who captures Bond's heart, pivotal role in the film's plot. Tracy is first introduced to Bond at a casino in Portugal, where she's gambling and losing heavily. As the film progresses, Tracy's role becomes more significant, and she proves to be a valuable asset to Bond's mission, even saving his life at one point. In the film's dramatic climax, Bond and Tracy finally tie the knot, but their happiness is short-lived. Tragically, just moments after their wedding, Tracy is shot and killed by Blofeld's henchwoman, Irma Bunt. Rigg's performance as Tracy is nuanced and layered, and she brings a depth and complexity to the character that elevates her above the typical Bond girl role. Tracy's tragic death at the end of the film is one of the most memorable moments in the Bond franchise, and Rigg's portrayal of her final moments is heart-wrenching and powerful. Barbara Bach. Famed for her breathtaking looks, Bach landed her role as the Russian agent Anya Amasova in The Spy Who Loved Me in 1977. She starred alongside Roger Moore. That was the same year she was featured in Playboy magazine. She used her increased attention to land further roles, including parts in Force 10 from Navarone and Caveman, which proved to be career successes, but she also experienced quite a few flops as well. After her career essentially going down the drain, she tried one last time to resurrect it, auditioning for a role in the TV series Charlie's Angels, but she ended up losing the part to Shelley Hack. By 1986, Bach was ready to quit acting once and for all. That's when she got married to Ringo Starr. Starr had a great impact on her life as well, seeing as how he managed to help her beat her long-standing battle with alcoholism. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already, and stick around for more about former Bond girls. Shirley Eaton. This English actress was a global sex symbol, popular singer, and star of the early Carry On series of films before she landed her most famous role as Jill Masterson in 1964's Goldfinger. She even managed to outshine Honor Blackman, the actress who portrayed Pussy Galore in the same film, appearing on the cover of Life magazine that year. But not long after joining the ranks of Bond girls, her career stagnated, and rumors were going around she had suffered a similar fate as her character in Goldfinger, who died after being painted with solid gold. While she hadn't actually died, she did quit acting instead to focus on raising her family. Halle Berry. Before she emerged from the ocean as the aptly named character Jinx in Die Another Day, Berry had taken home an Oscar and a Golden Globe. After the less-than-stellar Bond film, her personal life was a series of ups and downs. During the filming of the commercial flop Gothica, for example, Berry broke her arm, and not long after, she went through a second divorce. And we can't mention Berry without mentioning her Razzie Award-winning role in perhaps the worst superhero movie ever made, Catwoman. And Berry has virtually disappeared in recent years and isn't nearly as sought after as she was in the early 2000s. Denise Richards. Denise Richards played Dr. Christmas Jones in The World Is Not Enough in 1999. After that turn, her ascent into stardom practically fizzled. Even though she once seemed destined for glory while appearing in hit films like Wild Things, she quickly was transformed into run-of-the-mill tabloid fodder, due largely in part to her destructive car accident of a relationship with Charlie Sheen, a rather desperate Playboy shoot, and a truly awful reality show that no one remembers. Tanya Roberts. Even though she enjoyed a resurgence in popularity later on in life, portraying the mom in the popular sitcom That 70s Show, Roberts, who starred in 1985's A View to a Kill, said that being a Bond girl was a license to kill, her career that is. The former model-turned-actor pretty much vanished from Hollywood after appearing in that film and didn't land a single leading role in the 3 decades since appearing opposite Roger Moore. The ex-Charlie's Angel knew it wasn't the best career move to appear in the film, but did it anyway. She even shared her concerns with her agent, mentioning that no one ever got work after they appeared in a Bond movie. Robert's agent basically gaslit her for voicing her concern and told her Glenn Close would even do it if she could. Roberts has retrospectively concluded that taking on such glamorous roles as one of Charlie's Angels and a Bond girl essentially typecast her. And if she could have gone back and done things differently, she would have stepped into the spotlight a lot slower than she had. Maryam d'Abo. Here we have another British actress who left her mark by tumbling down a mountain with Timothy Dalton in the 1987 Bond offering The Living Daylights. Although she stayed busy appearing in a series of minor TV roles since then, the 50-something actress hasn't come close to landing another role as big as that 007 role in the years since she signed on to be a Bond girl. On multiple occasions, she's even resorted to cashing in on her short-lived Bond fame by penning a tribute book called Bond Girls Are Forever and producing a documentary film that essentially covered the same material. Unfortunately, she suffered from a severe brain hemorrhage in 2007, but has since staged a full recovery. Isabella Scorupco. This former model dazzled audiences in GoldenEye, portraying the strong-willed programmer Natalia Simonova. From there, she turned down lead roles in successful films such as The Mask of Zorro and LA Confidential, and instead she appeared in flops like Vertical Limit, Exorcist: The Beginning, and Reign of Fire. Scorupco has since faded into obscurity. Lois Chiles. It's not much of a surprise this actress hasn't been taken seriously ever since she added the name Holly Goodhead to her resume. After playing the CIA agent with the innuendo-laden name in 1979's Moonraker, she gave up acting for 3 years after her younger brother passed away. In 2001, Chiles was also sadly diagnosed with breast cancer. Her last notable role after playing a Bond girl was as JR's lover in the first season of Dallas. Jill St. John. As a talented young actress, St. John was signed to Universal Pictures at age 16. After appearing in several hit films and earning a Golden Globe nod in 1963, her career seemed to go cold. Perhaps her biggest career-defining moment came 8 years later when she played Bond girl Tiffany Case in Diamonds Are Forever. But from then on, she experienced a downward spiral consisting of TV movie roles and minor guest roles in series like Dempsey and Makepeace and The Love Boat. Lana Wood. This voluptuous actress and lesser-known sister of actress Natalie Wood briefly had her moment in the sun while playing opportunistic siren Plenty O'Toole in Diamonds Are Forever. She was never quite able to recapture the same kind of success she found with that role and went on to appear in a slew of lackluster made-for-TV movies in the years that followed. After her sister was tragically killed and perhaps even murdered in 1981, Lana published a controversial memoir that led to her becoming estranged from the rest of her family. Mie Hama. Before portraying Kissy Suzuki in You Only Live Twice, Hama was a popular personage in Japanese films. After starring in the Bond film, however, she was unable to find work in the Western world due to her poor grasp of the English language, and she eventually returned home only to find the nation's film industry was in shambles. Hama went on to become an environmental activist, so she eventually found her role in this world. Daniela Bianchi. Just 3 years after winning second place at the 1960 Miss World contest, Bianchi landed the role of Russian secret agent Tatiana and was tasked with seducing 007 in the 1963 Bond film From Russia with Love. During the production of that film, however, a car accident wounded her face. Her injuries were so extensive her voice had to be dubbed over. Bianchi went on to appear in obscure French and Italian films and ultimately retired from acting in 1970. Ursula Andress. Not only was Ursula the first ever Bond girl to appear in a bikini, she was the first Bond girl ever. It was Ursula's bikini-clad appearance in 1962's Dr. No that set the stage for all of the many bikini-clad Bond girls that followed in her footsteps. Dr. No saw Ursula play the character of Honey Ryder, who stumbles upon James Bond while she's diving for shells at the beach. Little does she know that the island she's been diving around is home of the film's villain, whom Bond is on the island trying to track down. After their initial meeting, Honey Ryder accompanies James Bond throughout the rest of the film, and she remains scantily clad for the majority of her screen time. Dr. No was a big success, and many more James Bond films followed with many more bikini-clad Bond girls. But there will always be a special place in the hearts of fans for Ursula Andress, who was the very first to do it. Following her appearance in Dr. No, she went on to appear in another Bond film, but this time it wasn't in the franchise proper. She made an appearance in the 1967 parody film Casino Royale, which starred David Niven as James Bond and had a script that featured contributions from both Peter Sellers and Woody Allen. Peter and Woody also made appearances in the film, and Ursula played female lead Vesper Lynd. 1967's Casino Royale was partially inspired by the book of the same name, which was the very first James Bond book. The book was properly adapted into a canonical feature in 2006, and French actress Eva Green portrayed Vesper Lynd. Claudine Auger. The fourth James Bond film was a movie called Thunderball, which featured a great deal of underwater action. And it featured the beautiful French actress Claudine Auger in the role of Domino, and she could be seen sporting an incredibly sexy bikini during the movie. That bikini was a black one-piece that audiences couldn't keep their eyes off of, and Claudine's appearance is part of what made the film such a big commercial success. Claudine remains best known for her appearance in Thunderball, though she was previously the first runner-up in the 1958 Miss World contest. The majority of her other notable films were low-budget exploitation features like 1966's Triple Cross and 68's Anyone Can Play. Both of these films capitalized on Claudine's sexy appearance in Thunderball. She passed away in 2019, though audiences still gaze in awe at the actress in her one-piece black bikini when Thunderball comes on screen. Britt Ekland. By 1974, Roger Moore had replaced Sean Connery in the role of James Bond. While the actor had changed, the character's preference for bikini-clad women had not. The Man with the Golden Gun was the 9th Bond film, and it featured a stunning bikini-clad appearance from actress Britt Ekland, who played Bond girl Mary Goodnight. Specifically, the bikini Britt wore was a side-tie bikini, which was an incredibly popular type at the time. Ekland is a Swedish actress who also did some modeling, which inevitably led to her being the perfect choice to play a Bond girl. In addition to The Man with the Golden Gun, she also appeared in a few other notable films in the 70s. These included Get Carter and The Wicker Man. These roles paved the way for Britt to become a Bond girl, and her appearance as Mary Goodnight remains one of her most memorable. Another was the 1972 thriller What the Peeper Saw, where she played a stepmother being lusted after by her stepson. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Maud Adams. In addition to Britt Ekland's Mary Goodnight, The Man with the Golden Gun also featured Bond girl Andrea Anders. Another Swedish actress portrayed her, this time by Maud Adams. Like Ursula Andress, Maud is a rare actress who's appeared in 2 James Bond films, but hers were both films in the main franchise. In addition to The Man with the Golden Gun, Maud also made a small appearance in Octopussy. However, her appearance in The Man with the Golden Gun, which featured the actress rocking a white bikini, stands out more. Jill St. John. Audience members couldn't get enough of actress Jill St. John wearing her 2-piece purple bikini in 1971's Diamonds Are Forever. As a matter of fact, neither could Sean Connery. Connery was the first actor tasked with playing James Bond, and Diamonds Are Forever was his final film in the franchise. He made a habit of picking up the various actresses tasked with playing Bond girls, and Jill St. John is one that he hooked up with. Given her bikini-clad appearance as Bond girl Tiffany Case, Sean's pursuit of the actress makes a lot of sense. Jill St. John is still around and has been married to fellow star Robert Wagner since 1990. Mie Hama. While Diamonds Are Forever was Sean Connery's final film in the Bond franchise, his last appearance as the character was actually supposed to be in 1967's You Only Live Twice. That was the 5th film in the franchise. It featured some staggering eye candy in the form of Japanese actress Mie Hama, who played a Bond girl named Kissy Suzuki. By the time of shooting, Sean had grown incredibly disenchanted with portraying the character. Actor George Lazenby, who was a model with no prior acting experience, replaced him in the subsequent feature. His first and only Bond film was 1969's On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which wasn't a huge success. The producers begged Sean to come back for the next film, which ended up being Diamonds Are Forever. But they later found a good replacement for him in Roger Moore. Caroline Munro. The Spy Who Loved Me came out in 1977, and it was the 3rd film in the Bond franchise to feature Roger Moore. The Spy Who Loved Me included a striking and bikini-clad Bond girl. This was Caroline Munro's Naomi. Naomi wore a few different 2-piece bikinis over the course of the film. Other notable films she appeared in around the time included The Indomitable Mr. Phibes, as well as The Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Halle Berry. There's a more recent Bond girl who turned heads with a bikini-clad appearance in a Bond film. Die Another Day remains notable for 2 reasons. First, it was the last James Bond film to feature Pierce Brosnan. For another, it was the franchise's 40th anniversary feature. As such, the producers made sure to include throwbacks to many iconic aspects of past entries. Of course, this included a throwback to the most important James Bond trope of all, the bikini-clad Bond girl. In Die Another Day, Bond girl Halle Berry could be seen sporting an orange bikini with a white white belt. That made hers one of the more fashionable ensembles we've taken a look at. Though Die Another Day wasn't all that positively received, Halle Berry's looks were. She had just given her award-winning performance in Monsters Ball a year before. Ursula Andress as Honey Rider. Ursula Andress, born in Switzerland in 1936, emerged as a global icon through her groundbreaking role as Honey Rider in the inaugural James Bond film Dr. No in 1962. Before that, she embarked on a modeling career, gracing the covers of magazines and catching the eye of Hollywood. Her portrayal of Honey Rider, the iconic beach scene where she emerges from the Caribbean waters, clad in a white bikini and knife belt, remains one of cinema's most iconic moments. Andress's captivating presence and effortless blend of sensuality and strength defined the archetype of the Bond girl. Despite speaking with a dubbed voice in the film, her charisma and allure transcended the screen. While Dr. No propelled her to international fame, Andress's career encompassed more than just the Bond franchise. She starred in a diverse range of films, displaying her versatility in roles ranging from historical dramas to comedies. Her magnetic screen presence and striking beauty made her a sought-after actress in the 60s and beyond. She continues to be celebrated for her contributions to cinema and her pivotal role in shaping the legacy of the James Bond series, forever etched in the annals of cinematic iconography. Today, she is retired and only makes occasional public appearances. Daniela Bianchi as Tatiana Romanova. Born in Rome in 1942, Daniela Bianchi's ascent to fame was marked by her memorable role as Tatiana Romanova in the Bond film From Russia with Love in 1963. Before that, she'd had a successful career as a model. Her portrayal of Tatiana, a Soviet cipher clerk ensnared in a web of espionage, showcased Bianchi's ability to blend innocence with sophistication. Opposite Sean Connery's Bond, Bianchi's performance exuded a captivating mix of vulnerability and intelligence. Her chemistry with Connery on screen added depth to the film's narrative, elevating her character beyond a mere love interest to a pivotal figure in the story's intrigue. From Russia with Love catapulted Bianchi to international recognition, making her a prominent figure in the Bond franchise. Despite her voice being dubbed due to her limited command of English at the time, her emotive expressions and on-screen presence captivated audiences. Following her Bond success, Bianchi continued to act in European films, showcasing her talents. While her role as Tatiana Romanova remains a standout moment in her career, her dedication to her craft solidified her status as a respected actress. Though she might be best remembered for Romanova, Daniela Bianchi has left an impression that spans across her career, and she's a huge part of the storied history of the James Bond series. She stopped acting in the 1960s, having only a short-lived career. She makes occasional public appearances and sometimes gives interviews discussing her role in From Russia with Love. Honor Blackman as Pussy Galore. Honor Blackman, a British actress born in 1925, carved her path to fame through a diverse and impactful career across film, television, and theater. But it was her portrayal of the iconic character Pussy Galore in the James Bond film Goldfinger in 1964 that remains a defining moment in her celebrated career. Before her Bond stint, she gained prominence for her role as Kathy Gale in the TV series The Avengers. Her portrayal of Gale, a character known for intelligence, assertiveness, and martial arts prowess, set a precedent for strong female roles on television. This role solidified her reputation as a talented actress capable of portraying empowered and multifaceted characters. Her entry into the Bond franchise as Pussy Galore marked a departure from the conventional Bond girl archetype. Galore was a skilled pilot and a leader of an all-female pilot team, exhibiting confidence, intelligence, and wit. Blackman's performance added depth and substance to the character, providing a formidable foil to Sean Connery's James Bond. Blackman's on-screen presence and her dynamic chemistry with Connery were pivotal in making Pussy Galore one of the most memorable characters in the Bond series. Her portrayal challenged stereotypes and showcased a character with agency and independence. Honor Blackman continued to excel in her career, taking on diverse roles across film, television, and stage. Her impact extended far beyond her time in Goldfinger, influencing the representation of strong, capable women in film and television. She's retired now and doesn't make public appearances. Diana Rigg as Teresa. Diana Rigg, an esteemed British actress born in 1938, left an enduring mark on the world of entertainment through an illustrious career in film, television, and theater. But her portrayal of Tracy DiVincenzo, aka Teresa, in the James Bond film On Her Majesty's Secret Service, released in 1969, stands as a pivotal moment in her journey. Her entrance into the Bond universe marked a departure from the typical Bond girl archetype. Tracy was a complex and multifaceted character, embodying both vulnerability and resilience. Rigg's performance opposite George Lazenby's James Bond added depth and emotional weight to the film, elevating Tracy beyond a conventional love interest to a crucial and integral part of the narrative. Rigg's portrayal brought a refreshing complexity to the character, showcasing Tracy as a woman of substance, courage, and depth. Her chemistry with Lazenby was palpable, adding emotional depth and authenticity to their on-screen relationship. Beyond her time in the Bond franchise, Diana Rigg continued to excel in a wide array of roles, demonstrating her versatility and talent. Dame Diana Rigg continued to make public appearances until her death in 2020. Britt Ekland as Goodnight. Britt Ekland, born in Sweden in 1942, emerged as a prominent actress and cultural icon with a career spanning film, television, and music. Her role as Mary Goodnight, or simply Goodnight, in the James Bond film The Man with the Golden Gun in 1974 remains a notable chapter in her career. She played Mary Goodnight, a charming and enthusiastic MI6 operative. Goodnight was depicted as a capable agent, although at times she was portrayed in a more comedic and light-hearted manner compared to some of her predecessors in the Bond series. Ekland's performance added a touch of vivacity and humor to the film, showcasing her versatility as an actress. While her portrayal of Mary didn't receive the same level of depth as some other Bond girls, Ekland's charisma and on-screen energy brought an effervescent quality to the character. Her chemistry with Roger Moore's James Bond added a playful dynamic to the film. She also represented a particular era in Bond films, contributing her own style and flair to the franchise. Her presence in The Man with the Golden Gun added a dash of charm and lightheartedness to the series, contributing to the diverse tapestry of Bond girls throughout the years. She acts on occasion nowadays, with a voice appearance in the 2020 film Jeepers Creepers. She also makes public appearances and often discusses her work in The Man with the Golden Gun. Her role as Goodnight has certainly become more popular than ever. Molly Peters' role in Thunderball was too hot for theaters. Of the few roles that actress Molly Peters took on during her relatively short career, her role in the James Bond film Thunderball undeniably remains her most iconic. She appeared as nurse Patricia Fearing, who is tasked with taking care of James Bond. Bond ends up being the one to take care of Patricia as he turns the tables on the nurse and seduces her into giving him her love. Molly certainly didn't have all that big of a role in the film, which was the fourth in the main James Bond franchise and was released after the classic Goldfinger. But it made waves because of the fact that her character took her clothes off for Sean Connery's James Bond. Goldfinger was the third film to star Connery, and everyone involved in the production of the follow-up, Thunderball, knew they'd have a heck of a time outdoing the feature. Goldfinger had been a massive hit with both critics and audiences, and it still stands today in the eyes of many as the greatest James Bond film ever. Given the producers knew they would have a challenging time keeping audiences involved, they had to think of some ways to make the fourth James Bond feature, Thunderball, stand out. One of the things they decided to amp up was the sex appeal. Thunderball featured a handful of beautiful Bond girls, and one of them was Patricia Fearing, played by Molly Peters. Thunderball nearly received an X rating. The producers had certainly intended for Molly Peters' nearly nude scenes to make a stir, but they likely didn't anticipate the controversy that would come about from the actress stripping her clothes off on camera. Even though no explicit nudity was shown in the film, censors at the time couldn't believe what they were seeing when Patricia Fearing began stripping in the film for James Bond. At the end of the day, not much could be seen of Molly Peters, despite the fact that the audience knew her character was naked. But this didn't stop censors from nearly giving Thunderball an X rating. It It seems the censors at the British Board of Film Classification required the scene featuring Molly to be significantly trimmed in order for the film to pass with an appropriate classification. Of course, the film would have likely proved a box office disaster if it had been given an adults-only classification. The Bond franchise has always been about money, and there's no reason for a Bond girl to be showing off skin unless it sells tickets. It's unclear just how racy the footage that had to be excised was, but it's doubtful the producers would have submitted any cut of Thunderball to the British Board of Film Classification that had any amount of explicit nudity. Even though Molly was only in Thunderball for a brief amount of time, audiences fell in love with her character. It didn't hurt that the character was naked for much of her screen time, even if the audience wasn't allowed the chance to see the good parts. Sadly, her career, following the release of Thunderball, left a bit to be desired. Before we tell you more about that, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. How Molly wound up in Thunderball. Molly Peters was born in England in the 1940s. Before she started her acting career, she could be seen posing as a model in sexy publications like Playboy and Modern Man. It seems Molly never had much of an issue with taking her clothes off, and she arguably would have been fine with showing a good deal more on screen in Thunderball. It was undeniably Molly's various sexy photo shoots that brought her to the attention of the producers of the James Bond films, who felt the actress would provide the perfect ingredient to keep audiences enthralled after the franchise peak that was Goldfinger. Molly appeared in the film when she was in her early 20s and had been discovered by the film's director, Terrence Young. Thunderball was based on the Ian Fleming novel of the same name. But the fourth James Bond feature isn't the only adaptation of Fleming's Thunderball that's been made. Nearly 2 decades after the release of the original film, a new film was made that attempted to adapt the classic spy novel for more modern audiences. This film was 1983's Never Say Never Again, which was directed by Empire Strikes Back's Irvin Kershner. Never Say Never Again is an odd film in the James Bond canon, as it's not considered part of the main film franchise due to not being produced by the same people. Instead, it's essentially an outlier in the world of James Bond films, though it featured Sean Connery as Bond. Kim Basinger recreated Molly Peters' infamous scene. Never Say Never Again is notable for many reasons, including the fact that it allowed aging Sean Connery to step back into the role of James Bond one more time before he became too old for audiences to buy him as the character. At that point, Roger Moore was portraying the character. The same year Connery could be seen playing Bond again, Moore could be seen playing him in the regrettably named Octopussy. Both films performed well at the box office, but Octopussy took in around $20 million more than its immediate competition. Still, Never Say Never Again stands as the much more interesting James Bond film nowadays, partially because it features Sean Connery's final performance as Bond, and partially because it was produced outside of the main film franchise, and features some decidedly different production values. There are some who say the movie is the only Bond film to feature a distinct directorial vision, as it's always been the producers who have truthfully been in charge of the main film franchise. The film featured a burgeoning Kim Basinger recreating the controversial stripping scene Molly Peters had performed in Thunderball. By 1983, however, there was nothing remotely controversial about it. Following Thunderball, Molly Peters only appeared in a handful of movies and TV series before retiring. It's been suggested the actress retired from her career after falling out with her agent. Claudine Auger also made history in Thunderball. Molly Peters passed away in 2017 at age 75. Roger Moore passed away the same year. In 2020, Sean Connery passed away. While Peters remains inarguably best known for her performance as Patricia Fearing, she wasn't even the most prominent Bond girl featured in the film. The main Bond girl was Claudine Auger's Domino. Claudine made history by being the first French Bond girl. Given that she had an incredibly heavy French accent, her lines had to be dubbed, but Claudine was a great swimmer and one of the few stars in the film who didn't require a stunt double for her numerous underwater scenes. Of course, Thunderball has been criticized for its surplus of aquatic action scenes, with a great deal of the film's action taking place underwater. Claudine performed a great deal after her appearance in Thunderball, but she found much more success in her home country than anywhere else. Because of this, Thunderball is arguably still her most iconic film. She passed away in 2019. Other beautiful actresses who played Bond girls in Thunderball include the Italian Luciana Paluzzi, as well as English-Jamaican actress Martine Baswick. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know the James Bond feature Thunderball nearly got an X rating? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. By the way, if you haven't joined FactsVerse as a member yet, be sure to look below this video and click the Join button. By becoming a paid member of FactsVerse, you'll get access to exclusive video content that you won't find anywhere else. This includes some of our more mature content that isn't suitable for public audiences, which includes topics like Hollywood actresses who posed for Playboy and some of the steamiest moments in movie history. Plus, you can enjoy these videos completely ad-free. Our biggest fans will notice they also get badges next to their name when they leave comments on our videos. We pay special attention to comments from our members, and so do other viewers. So if you want exclusive content from FactsVerse or inside access to discussions with other community members, click the Join button to get started for just $4.99.